Yes, yes, yes. What is up? What is up, MCR family? Another weekly edition of the show live on YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. And it should be a fun show, man. Oh my God, I cannot wait. The Teofimo Lopez topic alone, we can probably spend 2 hours on. There's so many different angles to tackle that topic. Plus, Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua is... I mean, the update is that there is no update, and Tyson Fury is saying that the fight's not close to happening at all, not, same level of closeness to the fight being finalized as it was a year ago. So, a little bit disappointing update there. Plus, obviously, a lot of fights to get into. I mean, Oscar Valdez making me look like the biggest fucking idiot for years now, Gary, right? Like, oh my God, the amount of fucking shit I have to take back now is... It's a lot. I'm actually intimidated by the amount of shit I have to take back on this show. And that's not the reason why we were so late to getting the show on, by the way.
Yes, it was. No, I was out of town. I wanted to do a show on Sunday. Wait, no, I couldn't do it. I was gone. You're right. No, I was gone Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. That's right.
Yeah, come on, man.
That's right.
Come on. And I was going to actually do a show on Monday, but I was like, that was before the Lopez news and the Fury news. So I was like, it was kind of a bare news cycle. So I was kind of waiting to talk with you about stuff. I didn't know that we're going to have these massive topics to talk about. So regardless, I blame Gary and Rob, of course, because Rob's never on anymore. He's too big league for us now with his, researching job now. Loser. Nerd.
He's watching the Matchroom Italy card.
Nerd.
Nerd.
Anyways, always shout out to Rob. Love you, Rob. Gary, what do you want to get into, man? There's so many things to get into. First off, we have the fights, we have the news. Where do you want to go?
I want to start with the news, right? I mean, the fights are kind of dated. We'll do the fights, but let's start with the news.
Okay. Let's get the Fury topic out of the way, because that is technically the biggest names involved in the news cycle, at least, right? Him stating to the fact, let me read the quote exactly here. Where is it? Let me find it. Trying to find it. Basically, he said that this fight is not close to happening, and it's been a full year of negotiating, and nothing is right here. They had a full year to try and make this fight happen, Fury said, since the last Wilder fight, and even before the Wilder fight, they were talking about a fight potentially between me and Joshua. They've had a full year to make something happen, and it hasn't happened as of yet. It is what it is. We're no further forward today than we were a year ago. Now, Gary, your thoughts on the AJ Fury fight, which also, to connect it to the Teofimo Lopez topic, I mean, Bob Arum explicitly stated on a IFL interview, February 11th, I believe was the date, that if Eddie Hearn and Matchroom and DAZN bid on the Lopez fight, that would affect the negotiations with Fury Joshua negatively, of course. So it seems like you didn't read that article?
No, I didn't read that.
Oh man, oh my God, so good. I'll wait to get into that aspect to it. But
yeah, I want to spend some time on what Bob Arum disgracing himself in a little bit.
But your thoughts on Fury Joshua after all this negotiating, seemingly nowhere.
I feel a little bit redeemed because I've been the one that's like, I don't think it's going to happen. And then news broke a couple weeks ago. It's like, oh, well, maybe they are close, but I still wasn't convinced. And now it looks like they've spent a year talking about, what they want to have for lunch, what color they want to paint the walls, what time we're going to mow the lawn.
No, they spent the whole year. No, they spent the whole year arguing whose name is first.
And they haven't solved that, right? I mean, they've done everything except for negotiate a fight, right? So I don't understand the big deal. The location I get, right? We're kind of kicking the can down the road, don't know where we can put it. Obviously, we want to put it in the UK. Is that really possible? If so, when? If not, where can we put it? I get that, right? But that's not what's holding it up right now. They don't agree on anything, right? And now Bob Arum is upset at Eddie because Eddie wanted to pay fighters. Go figure. And I don't think this is going to happen. I guess it's just anything to get out of fighting Usyk, right? We'll just kick the can down the road. Usyk's not obligated to do something else because he thought...
Come on. We're not going to blame Matchroom and AJ for this, it feels like. Are we?
Again, when it was a couple of years back, 3-4 years ago, whatever, Wilder replaced AJ's name with Fury's name with Wilder. I said neither one of these guys want this fight. Okay, you can sit here and blame one or the other, and you're probably right. But the bottom line is neither of them really care about the fight. I kind of feel the same way. If there was one guy who really wanted this fight, I kind of feel like the fight would get made. But I don't think either of them really care that much if it gets made. Now, you can sit here and blame one or the other. I don't think either one of them is dedicated in making this fight. Like, I really don't.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's I've got a window here where like Tyson Fury even talks about this. Like, if I am to fight AJ in June, it's gonna be a year plus I haven't fought, and I'm going straight into an AJ fight. That's not conducive to super fights, is basically what he said. I think he's largely right.
But he also said he's not going to fight Wilder again. So what do you?
I'm not going to get into that because that's like ridiculous. And his excuse for not fighting Wilder and then saying basically, I probably should have fought Wilder. My bad. It's hilarious, by the way. But we're getting to a point now where it's been so much time that the likelihood of them jumping into a super fight of that magnitude becomes more and more unlikely. When this was really getting negotiated in November and December and talked about as like a first quarter fight, it kind of made sense. Yeah, there's a layoff, not as much for AJ, of course, because he just had a fight with Pulev, but you can get over that. It wasn't as much. It's going to be under a year or about a year. Now you're getting to a year and a half, a year and some change. And I see that Tyson Fury is going to have that tune-up eventually, of course. So this fight is, the clock and the window on this fight happening is just ticking down. It just is. Like, I just don't see this fight happening at this point in time, especially when now we have them explicitly stating that the negotiation is going nowhere. But
you can see how it's absolutely anything to get out of fighting Usyk. I'll fight Pulev, I won't fight Usyk. Oh, we're going to make this Fury fight so we can't fight Usyk. We're not actually going to make the fight. We're just not going to fight Usyk. It's anything in the world to not fight Usyk.
That's not what's stating here at all. Because
that's the reality of the matter.
It's not the reality of the matter because Fury is not the one that has to fight Usyk. Fury is the one that's seemingly holding it up. He's the one that held it up in Wilder. That's
right. I grant that 100%.
To use that comparison again, like talking about like Wilder and Fury or Wilder and AJ, right? Well, we know for a fact in Wilder Fury that Fury avoided that fight, explicitly avoided it for a whole year.
The rematch. The rematch. Yeah. Well, the trilogy. Yeah.
No, not the trilogy. Just the rematch. Just the rematch. Not the trilogy. Just the rematch.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. After the first fight in what was that? November or whatever of 2018. Right, he had a 50-50 contract on his table in his hands in January and February after that fight, and he avoided that and fought Tom Schwartz and Otto Wallin that year, I believe.
For someone who's fought Fury, I fought Wilder twice, won almost every round except for like 2, and knocked him out. Fury really doesn't want to fight Wilder for some reason, right? Besides AJ, there's still no bigger payday. There's not.
Somebody said, I think it was Lisa Balls. Is the person's name on YouTube. I'm just repeating their username. It's saying that they believe Tyson Fury is lying. And I don't know about lying per se in the particulars of this case, but Tyson Fury is 100% a dishonest, a untrustworthy sort of analysis or perspective to take. Because he is often one that is fucking with the media, fucking with negotiations. And has talked about having, emotional sways from wanting to do stuff to not wanting to do stuff and such. So I just feel like Tyson Fury is a truly untrustworthy person in this scenario. So it is hard to sort of gauge what is the reality here. But we do know the reality from a previous big fight, and Tyson Fury avoided that. Okay, we have it here where I'm of the mindset, I know Rob has mentioned this before on the show, that I think you even mentioned it too, like when negotiations start getting quiet, or fighters start getting quiet during negotiations, that means that there's work being done, right? Or attempt at work being done at the very least, right? AJ has been the most quiet person in these negotiation process. You see a few headlines here and there, but Tyson Fury is the one that's doing a lot more media. He's the one that's on IG stories all the time talking about shit. I don't see that the guy that has unified the division except for one belt before is now opposed to super fights and unifications and such. No, I think AJ is down for big fights. I think sometimes, like with Wilder fight, it becomes difficult negotiations. I think the Fury situation, we have a untrustworthy person in this scenario, Tyson Fury. And in regards to the Usyk scenario, right? You're hang up because you're an Usyk fan. It's okay.
And Stan.
Hey, at least you admit it, man. Hey, it's okay. Shout out to Hector Tenahara too, man, if he's listening. I think, let's say this fight falls apart. Well, then what happens is we get not the Joyce Usyk fight, because that's still in negotiation. I think the only reason that was never finalized is because AJ Fury is never finalized, right?
That fight wasn't finalized? Usyk Joyce wasn't finalized?
I'm pretty much sure it's not finalized. They've talked about like months that they want to do it, but there's no date, venue, and press release that's been come out. No poster, nothing like that.
Okay, and even when a poster comes, like I still have a Shane Mosley versus Zab Judah poster.
That's true. That is true.
That never happened. I have the poster.
So if this fight falls apart, then AJ fights Usyk, right? Like that's 100% what's going to happen next if this fight falls apart. So you should actually be like happy. Yeah, you shouldn't be so like angry that this is like everyone's avoiding Usyk. You're like, yes.
Yeah, I just thought the Joyce fight. I thought the Joyce fight was a done deal, which is why now I was like, I was never going to fight Fury anyway. But if that Joyce fight isn't contractually signed, still, and delivered, no, then this is a good thing for me. Not a good thing for y'all.
Yeah.
But for me personally, if he does fight Usyk, then that's a good thing.
For you and Usyk.
For me and Usyk.
And Usyk's mom.
And the 10,000 people that were in Chicago when he fought Chaz Witherspoon. And when he knocked him out, you would have thought he knocked out Joshua, right? Like they went crazy. Like he just did the greatest thing in the world. So Usyk has a fan base, right? Like he has one here. He has one obviously in Ukraine. I mean, he's a name in the UK, right? So Usyk carries some luster. Just make the fight.
Daniel Edwards, I completely agree with this take. Usyk's performance versus Chisora was enough to provoke a duck. In my opinion, humbly disagree with that take. Absolutely agree, Dan. Absolutely agree. As I would say on this show, Usyk got touched up in that fight with Usyk. I mean, with Chisora, and he got touched up with the Chaz Witherspoon fight, but that's another story for another time.
I think he did, and I agree with you on that. But that was a thing where I think he wanted to taste heavyweight power. So he went in more aggressively with Chisora.
Are we really doing the Triple G excuses?
That's not Triple G. He stopped him and beat him up. He won every round. He got a heavyweight, put hands on him, for the first 2 rounds. Like I mean,
a top 50 maybe heavyweight. I mean,
and Usyk stopped him in 8 rounds, right?
Hey, quick question.
Rounds.
I actually have it pulled up here. Because I was curious about like Atlanta fights earlier in the day, so I was looking at Evander Holyfield's record. Who was the first heavyweight he fought after moving up? I'm trying to look at it right now. God, this motherfucker fought so much. Okay,
Seamus McDougan or something like that. Is that what?
Maybe, yeah. Michael Dukes.
No, Michael Dukes was the first good heavyweight, but I think he fought. Crappy heavyweights before that. Dokes was good.
Well, it would only be either because only had 2 fights
before that.
I think that are heavyweight fights. It's Pinklin Thomas or James Tillis. For some reason,
those are heavyweights. Yeah, because Pinklin Thomas was a heavyweight champ. I mean, he was way past his prime, but I think Pinklin Thomas held a belt at one point. It might have been the original IBF belt.
Better than Chaz Witherspoon. It's curious here.
But remember, he was supposed to fight Takam, and then it was supposed to be the UFC guy I never heard of, and then it became Chaz Witherspoon.
It's like an up and down factor there, wasn't it? Anyways, let's get to the meat of the news of the week, Gary. Let's get to this fucking Teofimo Lopez subject. I am so excited because I have no idea really what to think of this, but because there's so many different angles and ways to analyze it. But Triller, which is basically the social media music app, so to speak, which hosted the Mike Tyson Roy Jones pay-per-view, which did very well. I think it did like 1.5 million pay-per-view buys, give or take.
Yeah.
Quite well. They got the rights to Lopez-Kambosos with a bid of over $6 million. Matchroom came in and bid, and we're gonna get to like all these different factors. Around $3.5 million for the fight, and then Top Rank came in and bid around I think it was like around $5 million as well. And this has sparked, I mean, so much fallout, and again from so many different angles. We have DAZN ESPN beef. We have Teofimo Lopez and Top Rank and Bob Arum beef and Todd DeBuff beef. We can get to. We can read a deleted tweet as well. We have Eddie Hearn and Bob Arum beef. What else do we have here? And obviously, like to tackle like what is Triller? Are they really invested into the sport of boxing long term? Like our thoughts on that. Thoughts on the idea of Lopez jettisoning from ESPN and Top Rank. I mean, there's a lot of different angles to tackle this one, Gary. I can read a bunch of quotes if you want me to as well. I do have a lot of quotes picked out. Obviously, Arum saying that Triller can buy out Lopez's contract if they want. Saying that he's going to bid up Hearns' ass the next time there's a purse bid because he's so mad at him. Hearn and Arum obviously likewise fuck off. And there's a lot of good quotes, I mean, in all of this. And then plus we have the network beef that seems to be where we had a preemptive phone conference between execs on DAZN and ESPN and Top Rank, I should say. And Top Rank were under the assumption that DAZN and Matchroom were not going to bid on the fight as some sort of give back to them moving the Ramirez-Taylor fight from the Cinco de Mayo date. That has caused a lot of rift from Todd DeBuff and such. So, Gary, I mean, again, what do you want? Like, how do you want to tackle this topic? There's so much to go here. There's so many different quotes I could read out. Where do you want to start?
All right, start with the quotes, and then we'll address the quotes. That's usually the best way to do this.
That is, Gary. Hold on. Let me get to the quotes right here. From Bob Arum in regards to the not getting the fight and such. We were only going to pay what the fight was worth. We thought the fight was worth $2 million, but we stretched it a little bit. It's terrific and wonderful that Triller put a bid the way they did. I hope it works out for them because we made a lot of money in 5 minutes. Ha ha ha. Almost $800,000 is pretty good money. Shit, that's really great because Lopez versus Kambosos is not a premier attraction. It's not a must-see fight like Oscar Valdez versus Miguel Berchelt. It's a fight between the guy who just beat Vasily Lomachenko against someone who is not an elite fighter. If it was Teofimo versus Ryan Garcia, the purse bid would be a whole lot different. Triller is spending this money in effect as marketing. This is from Bob Arum still. Their model is different, and our model is different. We do 30 events a year. If they come into the market for real boxing and create an inflation of the pay-per-view shows, so be it. Everybody makes good money. And that's why they're getting $800,000. They're getting a 20% cut of the Lopez purse. Some more quotes from Bob Arum because, oh my God, they are just amazing. For us, it wasn't a big fight, no harm, no foul. If Hearn won the bid, we'd have a live explaining to do to ESPN. But ESPN understands the fight was not worth anything near $6 million. We would have been pissed if Eddie Hearn and Matchroom put in the winning bid. By the way, if Triller did not win the bid, of course, Matchroom and DAZN would have won because they bid more than $1 million than Top Rank ESPN. But digress from that point. That's bad policy for him to do that because he has nothing to do with Teofimo. Hearn gets into a lot of purse bids, and we don't ever get involved if we don't have a connection with the fighter. It makes no sense for them to put Lopez on DAZN. It's just wrong. Oh, Gary, you're going to love this, by the way. This is going to, like, really upset your, like, libertarian ideology. Just read the Eddie Hearn quotes, too. I'll be honest. I'm going to defend Eddie Hearn here. I can't believe it. But he lost and pissed us off at the same time and sent a message to us. Better watch out the next time he goes to a purse bid when the fighters have no connection to ESPN or Top Rank. Maybe we'll jam a bid up Hearns' ass. We'll get back at them. I'm angry at them. Yeah. And then Eddie Hearn back to Bob Arum. Let me get to this. This is actually pretty good. They let it get to this. Teofimo Lopez took the chance for small money to fight Lomachenko because he believed he could win and he believed he would get the financial rewards he deserved. But guess what? When he won, they wouldn't give it to him, as this whole problem has been caused by Top Rank. Bob. Bob's been out there. Oh, Eddie Hearn, I'm fucking pissed off that he's bid and he's got to watch himself now. Fuck off. It's an open market. If you can't deal with your fighter and that comes into the open market, you pay the consequences. And the consequences is someone else has popped off from nowhere and taken one of your biggest assets on your platform for ESPN and put on another platform. It's a disaster for Top Rank. So good. So good. Hold on. I think there's some more here. I told him I'd bid, Hearns said. You know why? Because they try to put the fear into people not to bid, and it's not acceptable. Once you do that, all bets are off. If you would have come to me, sat down, but what you're doing is you're taking opportunities away from your client. So you want no one to bid so you can get your guy cheap? Is that what you want? By the way, that's exactly what Bob Arum wanted. It doesn't work like that. We had an opportunity to bring one of the biggest names in the sport to our platform in the open market. Don't tell us what we can and can't do, but it's irrelevant anyways. Gary, I'm not going to read the athletic articles. That's a long one. It's a long read. I recommend people to go read it because in terms of the information from the networks, there's a lot of stuff in this article that's not in the other ones, even though the other ones have a lot of shared content. This one is unique in terms of the information from the networks and the executives. But I'm not going to get into that. Just know that the basic is ESPN and Top Rank were under the assumption that DAZN was going to act one way. And when it got to the purse bid, DAZN acted a different way. And DAZN has said, after the fact, we were not under that assumption. Anyways, back to you, Gary, on this entire situation. Hold on. Before we get to it, let me read the Teofimo Lopez quote from the deleted tweet as well. Where is it at now? Here it is. This has now been deleted, but regardless, let me read it anyways. Todd DeBuff, this is from Teofimo Lopez. Todd DeBuff, you won't have me back. Get ready because we're going to war, you prick. How dare you try to cockblock my purse bid with DAZN and whoever else. You're done. Thank you, Triller, for letting the world know I'm next up. We can also get into like the particulars of the fight and what it's going to be packaged as later on. But obviously, we want to talk about the business side first. Gary, thoughts on all of this, man?
All right. First, there's a lot. So let's go one at a time here. First, I think if Teofimo wants, he can take this absurd purse he's getting and buy himself out of his Top Rank contract. Right? I'm sure that they'll be happy to do it. I don't know why, because they don't have anything else, and the kid's got star written all over him. But Top Rank at this point seems uninterested. I was talking to Rob in the chat. I think Bob Arum has lost his motivation, his passion. He just wants to chill and eat edibles and enjoy the end of his life. He's almost 90. He's 89 years old now, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm still working at 89 years old, come to my house and drag me out. Really. I get it, but I think Teofimo Lopez is done with ESPN and Top Rank. And I think that's really bad for all parties. Right? I think it's bad for Teo because they could have made him a star. I think it's bad for Top Rank because he's the best young guy in the sport, right? And by young, I mean, I don't know, under 25, 26, and yes, he's better than Tank because he beat Loma. Now, as far as Bob Arum, right? I think kind of everything Bob Arum said about the fight is it's not worth $6 million, right? It's not. It's not a big fight. It's not a great fight. It's a premier guy who just beat Lomachenko against a non-elite fighter. I think Bob Arum said everything right there. But then why is he upset about Eddie coming in?
I would disagree with that slightly, though, if I can. I can interject just slightly here.
Sure.
I mean, it's more a philosophical standpoint. Maybe you might agree with this, too, to play on your anarcho-capitalist ways, Gary. Your value is what you can determine from the market in some fashion, right?
Absolutely.
And in terms of your exchange rate, what you can get in terms of your commodity that you bring to the market and you can exchange for it. That is determined by that anarchic process of the market in some fashion. So, I mean, for us, it may not seem like it's worth $6 million, but the market just determined that it is. Did you see what I'm saying?
No, I get what you're saying, right? And I was having the same conversation when I was in New York a few weeks ago with a Mets fan, when Trevor Bauer was still a free agent, right? And the Mets fan's like, he's going to get $30 million a year. I said, okay, look, Trevor Bauer is a good pitcher. He's going to win you games. You're better with him than without him. Okay. Compared to the other pitchers who make in that ballpark, he's not anywhere near as good as those guys. So, look, someone's going to give him that money. It's not my money, right? There's no salary cap in baseball. So if you want to pay him, you're overpaying him for what he's going to produce for you, but someone's going to give it to him. So if you want him, you got to give it to him, right? Like, I kind of feel like this is like that. It's like $6 million for this doesn't seem to be in line with other $6 million fights. But, you know, there was a bid for him. I thought Eddie's bid was aggressive. Like, I think kind of like the fair market value, like the street value, like the Kelly Blue Book value of this fight would be kind of what Bob Arum bid on, right? And then I thought Eddie Hearn, which I predicted was going to go in aggressive and try to steal this fight. And I think he did, but he wasn't expecting this, right? Again, I don't blame anyone except for Bob Arum for being a little piss pants, right? Like, people wanted to pay fighters. That's good. Now, if it turned out to be a bad decision and Triller gets out of boxing, okay, right? But Eddie Hearn made a great offer. Like, everything, and you didn't even want the fight, it seems like. It's like the girl who you're not really interested in until your buddy comes along and steals her. It's like, oh, wait a second. I kind of, like, you weren't interested. What do you want me to do? Like, we knew what you were going to offer, right? You're going to offer basically $2 million. So I came in at 3.5. And I don't know who was in Triller's ear. I told him you had to bid 6. 4 would have done it. I don't know where you got.
You see what Ryan Kavanaugh said about what he thinks he can do for Teofimo Lopez? I thought this was really interesting. I think indicative of maybe how far off Bob Arum and Top Rank is as a promotional company. Ryan Kavanaugh, who's the CEO, so to speak, I forget exactly what title he is on Triller. He said to the effect that Teofimo Lopez is going to come into this fight with 500,000 social media followers. He's going to leave the fight with 2 million.
Okay.
You know, and I in terms of like promotion, right? Just pure like the idea of like promoting an event, promoting a brand, promoting a fighter, whatever it may be. Bob Arum is never of the mindset of let's like actually like expand the potential of this brand or this fighter. You know, we never hear Bob Arum talk about, I'm going to make this guy from drawing X amount of views to drawing Y amount of views. Right? Like, we never see that. And to your point of, like, Bob Arum is clearly checked out, I think that's indicative of this, of that Bob Arum is checked out. You have a new, air quotes, because Triller's been around for a few years at this point in time. It's been around, I want to say, like 5 years. But they're new into boxing, at least. That their mindset on promoting is relevant. It's a relevant philosophy of promoting. While Bob Arum is either archaic in how he thinks or doesn't care. Either way, he's not a good promoter anymore. And I think Teofimo Lopez is absolutely right to get out of that Top Rank deal ASAP. Because why? Why stick around with someone that is clearly undermining your value when he should be increasing your value? Like, and he even talks about like, oh, I just made money off of Lopez. Ha ha ha. Like, motherfucker, we know that. We all know that. Why don't you make more money off your fighter by making him more money? Make him a bigger star.
You don't like promoting him, right?
This isn't rocket science here. It's unfortunate, man. It's really unfortunate, like, that there are fighters that have a potential of some star power, of some drawing power, like Oscar Valdez, who we're going to get into later in the show. But look at how little they have been promoted, how little they have been pushed into being a draw. It's unfortunate. Matt J in the chat saying, how much do you think it would cost Teo to get out of his contract? I don't know. I forget how much it was for Mayweather. Wasn't like less than
$750.
Yeah, it was like $750,000. So I'm assuming that Lopez's contract isn't that much, even with inflated prices, right? From 2008-ish or 7, whenever it was.
So he's making $4 million for this, right? He was only going to make 1.25, so he's got an extra 2.75 million coming his way. Half of that easily buys him out of his contract, right? 1.3 million. You think Bob Arum would jump at, right? If I give you 1.3 million to let me out of my contract, you think Arum would jump at that, right? I would think. So I mean, if he really wants to, and I think if Triller believes in him this much, that they can make him the next star, which I think he has all the star-making abilities to, I think he should do it. There's no better investment than investing in yourself. And if Teofimo Lopez believes that this is the right path, go do it.
Absolutely agree. Extra repertoire saying I waited a week for this stream from Australia. Thank you for waiting for a week. I'm assuming you waited a week just to hear me eat all my words about Oscar Valdez. Because I got messages about that shit. You guys suck.
Does the guy from Australia get upset when people think Junior Fa and Joseph Parker are from Australia and not New Zealand? Does that upset you at all?
I've definitely had some Australian and New Zealand listeners say, like, no, this is where they're from. Get it right. And I get why.
Yeah, because they're from a completely different country.
Yeah, I totally get it. You know, it's like when, like, you got, like, super ignorant. And, like, sometimes, like, we make mistakes, too. Like, don't get us wrong. Like, we make mistakes, too, and we try to correct them. But on, like, Irish fighters versus British fighters. You know, like, you can't do that. You just can't. You got to correct that. You know, you can talk about the UK market. Like, Katie Taylor draws in the UK market, but she's not a UK fighter. You know what I mean? Like, you have to be smart about those types of nomenclatures. But anyways.
Ireland is a British Isle, but I just don't understand that part of the globe. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Don't worry, Gary. It's okay.
I don't get it. Like, UK, Great Britain. I know what England is.
What was it the other day in the group chat when you said something? I'm like, yeah, that's not how it works. And forget what you said. Like, I don't understand how it works there. And Rob was like, how does he not understand how it works there? Forget what it was. It was so perfect. But anyway, digressing. It doesn't matter. Digressing. Back to Lopez and this situation, just to sort of try to round off the topic in any way we can. In terms of how it affects further negotiations, I think it's going to be a little bit overstated. Like, I don't think it's going to affect like Fury Joshua negotiations, as Bob Arum says, or as Todd DeBuff says. I think it's going to affect the DAZN ESPN relationship as much as maybe some of those execs think, because for one, they are natural competitors. So when it suits them to hurt the other, it's going to happen, right? And when they talk about, like ESPN talks about, or I should say, Todd DeBuff says that DAZN asked for Ramirez-Taylor to be moved off of the Canelo date. That DAZN requested it, right? That the Top Rank didn't do that to, you know, to make sure that their event was seen by more eyeballs, and B, to, you know, get a larger share of the market. No, they did that because DAZN was scared of Ramirez-Taylor. I think that stuff's overstated. I think obviously we know that these companies have had beefs before. I think it was the AJ Andy Ruiz, the first fight, that there was multiple reports about ESPN blacklisting DAZN and AJ conversations on First Take and other programs. So this isn't a new thing. So this particular situation of Teofimo Lopez being bid on by both ESPN and DAZN is not going to be this reason to cause a rift between DAZN and ESPN. That rift has always been there because they're natural competitors. Anytime they try to say that they're, you know, working hand in hand, first off, that's, I mean, to me, almost like screams of criminality of some sort, you know, of like market collusion.
I know what I'm saying. It's collusion or conspiracy. It's like, you know, I'm not exactly sure of the legal differences between collusion and conspiracy, but like, it's in that, you know, it's in that realm of things.
Absolutely. Shout out to Deuce, aka Ranger Rollins, who's from a Sunday Puncher podcast, who screenshot basically the article from The Athletic talking about ESPN and DAZN having correspondence back and forth and adding the SEC and FBI and saying, yeah, you need to sorry, the FTC and you need to come arrest these people. That was hilarious. I do wonder in like when we find out, because we've had the Crawford situation for ever now, Bob Arum undermining Crawford, and they're still working together as far as we know. We have no idea when Crawford's fighting next, though, because I'm assuming that that's affected their negotiation process. So similar, like I wonder whenever we get past Cambosis on Triller, like, when does this really come to a head? Like, when does this animosity blow the top off the lid? And I'm curious because it's not now. There's a reason why Teofimo Lopez deleted that tweet right now, because this is not the time to come to a head with Top Rank and ESPN. That's for a later date. I'm assuming it's when you find out what your pay-per-view does with Triller, which we got to say, just to round off the topic, Ryan Kavanaugh is saying that it will not be combined with, obviously, the Jake Paul and Ben Askren fight, which is in April, or the negotiated Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield trilogy fight. He's saying this fight will be separate from those two events. Gary, do you think that's actually going to happen? Do you think this will be paired with Mike Tyson, Holyfield, or will be a separate event?
It's going to be tough to pair it with Holyfield Tyson because you're paying so much money. I mean, I don't know. It's got to be a separate event. I don't think they bought this to pair it with something else, right? Like, they may have bought it to get a lineup, right? But I don't think they bought this to put it on Mike Tyson card. You know what I'm saying? I don't think. I don't know, right? But that is so much money. But I don't know how much money Triller has. I meant to look at the finance.
They're owned by, it's either Universal or Sony.
Okay. I mean, but how much money does Universal? I mean, look, they have the money. I'm just not going to spend it on that kind of thing. I don't know. Maybe they really are interested in spending it on that. I think Teofimo Lopez is the right guy to spend it on. So I don't think this is a bad move at all. It just seems like you should have known you could have got this for less than $6 million, but perhaps you wanted it that bad you didn't want to chance it at all. I thought for Eddie 3.5 was, that's 2.2 for Tio and 1.1 or whatever, 2.3 and 1.12. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's so much money for these guys. Like, Kambosos is making $2 million. He's going to take a nice long vacation on a private jet after this fight.
For comparison's sake, people, Lopez made around I forget how much, $1.2 million. Was it 1.5? I thought it was 1.2. Like that.
Maybe, yeah.
I made 1.2 for Loma. It might have been 1.5. He is now making around $3.2 million for this fight with Kambosos, who is leagues below Lomachenko. I mean, smart business. I mean, and I should say smart business. It was business that backfired on ESPN Top Rank. Because Eddie Hearn is absolutely right. And I can't believe I'm saying those words in the sentence together, that Eddie Hearn is absolutely right, but he is. When he says that Top Rank did this to undermine the value of their fighter.
Yep.
It's clear as day. And on top of it, they called DAZN and emailed DAZN and said, hey, don't bid on this fight, in an attempt to further that collusion to not give their fighter his true value in the market. Like, it's insanity. Like, I'm not surprised that Lopez is so pissed off. I'm not.
Because they tried to undercut him a lot of money, right?
Life changing. Like, think about it. Like, 1 million to 4 million is a massive fucking difference. It is.
Especially, he hasn't made 4 million in his whole career combined, right? So, I mean, this is a massive, massive payday. And look, I understand. Look, kid, I can't pay you $4 million. I get it, right? Like, that's so far out of my league to pay you $4 million for this mandatory. But you could have paid him $2 million. You could have tried to negotiate with him instead of just trying to send it to purse bids and demand nobody else bid on it. And then I get it on the cheap, which is what he's wanted to do. And then he got upset because Eddie's like, oh, this is on the free market now. I want it. And then I'm going to bid way more than you did to get it. I mean, and then Triller came in and stole it. But
boom. Big on the table.
But see, that's the beauty. That's the beauty of the free market. Everybody gets paid.
Anyways, it's going to be interesting to see again what happens with this entire scenario. Because again, it's like, this is not the end of it. What happens after the fight, to me, is the far more intriguing part of this story. It won't get there till May, whenever this fight happens. I'm guessing it's second quarter of the year. But somebody's asking, I think it was Harpo Marks. Shout out to Harpo Marks. Always a great name in the chat. Also, hold on, before I get to Harpo Marks, Ricky Ellis. Shout out to Ricky Ellis, saying, what are your thoughts on the Fury comments about AJ? We talked about that first in the show. So that's the very first thing we talked about. So you want to rewind the show.
Ricky! I love doing that. Anyone named Ricky, Ricky.
No. Anyways, so check that out. It's beginning of the show. Harpo Mark saying, how does it sell without big names? Meaning the Lopez Kambosos fight without a Mike Tyson Holyfield attachment, without a Logan Paul or Jake Paul attachment. How does it sell and how many buys does it do? Is basically what Harpo Mark is talking about. Look, I think I am skeptical of Ryan Kavanaugh when it comes to that. I'll be honest. If I know it's a lot of money, a lot of overhead costs for one event, a one-off night of branding and promotion for your company, but it's probably the only way to make any sort of money back on those events is to have Tyson Holyfield and Lopez Kambosos together. But the overhead cost on that's going to be, I mean, what, Gary? That's going to be a lot of money. Like,
how much do you have to pay Tyson Holyfield? A lot, right?
I'm thinking that's a $20 million fight at least.
At least, I was going to say $10 million a piece at least, right?
That's what I was thinking. It's Snoop Dogg event, so Snoop Dogg's getting paid seven figures, I'm guessing. Right? I mean, like
a lot of hands in the cookie jar, and not just taking like a cookie, like massive, big, huge cookies.
If they sell, 2 million pay-per-view buys, because I'm guessing this does more than Tyson Holyfield does more than Tyson Roy Jones.
Absolutely, because Holyfield's a bigger name than Roy Jones. Plus, there's the history of Tyson bit him, right? And then, like, I didn't buy that fight, but I'll buy this fight because now there's a real fight. I mean, not that there wasn't real fights in the other card. There was a real regular. Nate Robinson from the undercard, right?
Yeah,
that was. But there were preliminary fights before, like Eddie Vasquez fought on it in the prelims.
Yeah, there were some legit fights on the undercard.
But this has like a world title fight. This has the best young guy in the sport. Again, not in a mandatory. Make what you want in the mandatory. It ain't the worst mandatory in the world. It sure ain't the best.
No, absolutely not. Extra repertoire, the same that mainstream media in Australia down under is now high on the Kambosos train. Good for him, man. Honestly, like I know, like you said, they're gonna blow smoke up his ass like they did Jeff Horn. Hey, man, that's what you kind of have to do if you're an Australian boxer. You got to make it big with some big key fights in the States or in the UK. Unfortunate reality. But in terms of the buy rate,
shout out to Australia though, because I'm from the South. They're really from the South,
like literally.
Literally.
God damn it, Gary. I think if this fight is separate from Tyson Holyfield, it does, 50K in terms of buy rate. Like it does 50,000 buys, like maybe 100,000, depending on the promotion.
I think the promotion, they're saying they're going to make him a star that's going to have 2 million followers at the end of the day. If that's true, they're going to add a lot of pay-per-view sales depending on what they price it at. I think they should do something.
Anyone in the chat, do you remember what the pricing was for Tyson Roy Jones? Because I didn't buy that.
It was 60, right? So it's a little bit. It was 50, but no one buys it in regular depth because it's 2020.
Absolutely.
So it was $60.
Have you ever accidentally bought it in standard definition?
A long time ago.
I did it once, man, and I never did it. It's
unwatchable. It's like watching it on your grandparents' old black and white TV. Like, what is this?
So bad. Anyways, but together with, Tyson Holyfield does 2 million buys, like, and it maybe breaks even. Doesn't maybe a huge money maker, but these types of events clearly aren't going to be money makers for Triller. They're loss leaders. They're big-time events to promote the brand because the brand doesn't have big-time events to promote it. That's kind of what Triller is doing right here, to promote their other music-related content, music video content, live performances, during COVID performances, so to speak, that they've been trying to push. This is all just a way to promote that content more than anything. That's why they have concerts in between fights. It's because it's largely a music-related brand. They're just cross-pollinating in terms of pop cultural fandoms, which I get. It sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. I'm curious to see what the Jake Paul Ben Askren fight does too. I think that would be a good barometer to see what the bottom out process is, or the bottom level of these pay-per-views could be for Triller, because that one's not going to be 1 million plus like Tyson Roy Jones. I just doubt it. Highly doubt it. Santiago in the chat I'm gonna agree with this. And the most depressing news of the week was finding out Julio Cesar Martinez screwed up his hand in sparring yesterday and is out now. Yeah. First off, why the fuck was he sparring yesterday? Like, that's the part that like blows my mind. Like, a day before, 2 days before a fight, you're sparring.
Well, did it say he was sparring or training? Did it use the word sparring?
Well, Santiago said sparring. He's the human body.
I mean, I'll believe him.
Santiago, please correct yourself if you did not mean sparring, because to me, sparring is obviously a very specific type of training, and no one does that 2 days before a fight. Like, that is odd.
Right.
Maybe it was like shadow boxing sparring, where like you're just kind of moving around the ring and you have somebody in front of you to gauge distance off of.
I guess, but how would you hurt your hand? I mean, weird things happen. But how would you hurt your hand? I mean, that hand had to be already in pretty bad shape if you hurt it doing that.
Or it just wasn't taped up. That's my thinking. Maybe it wasn't taped up. You hit an elbow.
Maybe. Yeah, you go. Yeah.
I have fucked up some
top of somebody's head with no. Yeah.
And you're just fainting, and all of a sudden, boom, he comes in, and you're just messing around trying to, gauge distance, trying to get that down. Whatever. Digressing. Anyways, any other thoughts on Lopez-Kambosos?
No. Bob Arum should have tried to pay his fighter. He should have tried to reach, and they were well off.
And by the way, sources per The Athletic state that the number that Lopez and Kambosos were looking for was around $3.1 to $3.4 million cumulative. The total purse payout for both fighters was that's what they were looking for.
And Eddie went in at 3.5, huh?
But I mean, that's not that much more than 2.5. That's 600,000 more. It's $500,000 more. Yeah, that's more out of your budget, but you have an $84 million budget. You can do
Bob
that.
Bob just thought nobody was going to bid on it, so he would get it for on the cheap, because who am I bidding against? Nobody. And then that didn't work out that way, and then he got upset about it because other people wanted it.
Yeah, they definitely did not expect Triller to come in, and they thought, they called off the zone, and that didn't happen. Moving on, shout out to Teofimo Lopez. Hope he becomes a star. Let's talk about fights that happened this last weekend, though, because I know that's what some of you are here to listen to, is me eat all my fucking words. Gary, this has been rough, man. It's been a rough week for me.
Do you want me to kind of look?
No. I got to do this on my own. I'm on the ledge, man. I got to do this one. Let me just set it up. First off, this was, I was going to say like a great fight, but it was a pretty one-sided fight. Like, Oscar Valdez came in and showed levels to his game I never thought was there. Showed power I didn't think was really there. I mean, he showed that he is truly an elite fighter when I never thought he was an elite fighter. His ability to use his lateral movement, use his head movement to avoid the jab of Miguel Berchelt, avoid the offense of Miguel Berchelt, while continually making him pay, was first off some vintage like Eddie Renesso stuff. So clearly it's now kicking in. Like, some of the training, some of the rubbing off of Canelo and other fighters in that camp, I think is now really playing dividends for Oscar Valdez. But I think we also, and me in particular, undervalued maybe his base skill set, because he always did have a good base skill set. I just thought there was nothing extra to that. And he showed that he had something extra to that style, his overall game, on Saturday night, and ended up knocking out Miguel Berchelt in knockout of the year fashion. I mean, it has to be knockout of the year in my opinion. I can't think of anything else that competes with it thus far, even though it's only February, so obviously we have 10 more months of the year. But holy shit, that knockout was insane. After the knockdowns already, I thought when the stoppage was going to come, because at some point I knew the stoppage was going to come. It became very evident as such that Miguel Berchelt was not going to last the full 12 rounds. I thought the ref was going to wave it off. I thought it was going to be a mercy stoppage, and it wasn't. It was that duck under. I think it was a right hook. I want to say, it could be wrong. Maybe it was a left hook, but I want to say it was a right hook. Clocked Berchelt, and then boom, turned out immediately and was repositioned for another shot, while Berchelt is still falling down like a fucking log. Okay. I mean, it was amazing. I mean, the career best performance of Oscar Valdez, obviously speaking, not a star-making performance of Valdez per se, but a fight that legitimized him, his career, his resume, his legacy, his reputation. And I was completely wrong about it. Like everything. Like pretty much everything I've ever said about Oscar Valdez, I was wrong about. Shout out to him for proving me to be an idiot. Happens.
It happens. Look, I'm gonna make a comparison, right? When it was Eli Manning and Romo and stuff, when and I used to always trash on Eli because he would like lead the league in interceptions. He'd have one good game, then have 7 bad games. And my friends in New York would be like, "When are you gonna stop trashing on Eli? Like, when are you gonna stop saying Eli sucks?" I'm gonna stop saying Eli sucks when Eli stops sucking. I mean, that seems pretty fair, doesn't it? Right? And I kind of feel like that's where we are with Valdez. When are you going to say Valdez? When are you going to stop saying Valdez sucks? When he does something like this. Now he needs to do it again, right? But when he was losing to Jason Velez in the 10th round, he needed to rally to get a knockout in the 10th round. When he got a lucky stoppage against Adam Lopez in a fight he was losing, when his best performances are life and death scraps with Genesis Savannah and Jason. What the hell was the Irish fighter's name? The one that broke his jaw.
Was he Irish? Scott Quigg?
Scott Quigg. I mean, that's an Irish name, right?
I mean, it's a white name from that area.
Quigg, I would say, is an Irish name. I mean, I'm not.
Hold on. Fucking box break logging me out, you fucking bastard.
He's of Irish descent with a last name like Quigg, yes?
I don't know, Gary Holt. No, he's not. He's fucking British, dude. Some Lancashire or something like that. No.
All right. Quigg.
He fought Frampton, who was
no, Frampton. Yeah, but Quigg is the one I was thinking of. But Quigg is an Irish guy who moved to England. Who moved to
Gary. You don't have to argue this, man. He's not.
All right, whatever.
Not Irish.
Whatever.
He's not. I mean, he's not. It's okay, Gary.
But that's an Irish name, yeah?
It's not.
All right.
Are you acting like
that's not really even the point at this point?
Gary,
Quigg and Genesis Savannah were his what?
Are you acting like Celtic names are like that far apart from like these particular British Isles? No, they're Celtic names. It's okay.
All right. Well, it's fine. He's not Irish. I was wrong. He wasn't Irish. Fine.
It happens.
I still think Quigg is an Irish name, but whatever.
You want me to look it up? I can look up the etymology.
It doesn't matter. No. It doesn't.
Oh, Gary.
I'm going to continue. His best wins were life and death wars with Quigg and Genesis Savannah. Right?
Let's say this. The best Quigg of all time is Quigley from Quigley Down Under. But digressing.
So it led you to believe everything he had done led you to believe that he sucked, right? Now that doesn't he might not suck at some point, and that was the performance that he needed. When we got to the middle rounds and he started standing in more with Berchelt, I'm like, this is the end of the road. This is where the wheels fall off. Berchelt's going to stop him, and all that great work he did is all going to be for naught because Berchelt's going to break him down right now. But then he got back to business, and then he scored the sensational knockout. So it really was an excellent performance from Valdez, which I thought when we got to those middle rounds and he started standing in more, I thought Berchelt's going to stop him. Like, this is a bad look. But kudos to Valdez. He finally gave the performance which we were told he was capable of for years. So I don't think it's anything to be like embarrassed or ashamed of. Like, when are you going to stop saying Valdez sucks? When he stops sucking. Now, can he do this again? Can he motivate himself enough to do this again? We'll see. We know now that his skills are there. He can do it. Now, the only question is, will he do it again? Right? I mean,
by the way, the most amount of Quiggs in America are in New York or Pennsylvania, by the way. Just want to let you know that. A fun fact for the day. And I think from what I found, it is kind of from an Irish name. Okay. Because it comes from Quigley. Right? It comes from and then that goes back to old Gaelic and shit like that. But anyways, he's British. It's okay. Digressing, because I was looking up that shit while Gary was talking. I mean, what's next for either guy now? To be honest, I mean, are we gonna get the Shore Stevenson fight for Oscar Valdez next, or are we gonna wait for a Herring Frampton fight to eventually happen? I guess, and then Valdez to fight the winner of that. What's Berchelt gonna do in the comeback? What are your thoughts?
So my first guess would be that Shakur is going to fight the winner of Frampton versus Herring, right? Especially if boxing's back in New York, because then you have Shakur Stevenson versus Jamel Herring, two local guys fighting in New York City. I know he's from Newark. It's like 5 minutes away. Like that was my guess, which means initially I thought that we could do a rematch. Like, who wouldn't want to see this again? My only thing is, like, they said Berchelt's cut was so bad trying to get down to 130 that maybe he just goes to 135 now, which would take that fight off the table. And then I don't know where Valdez goes. Because my assumption is that Shakur Stevenson fights Herring, assuming Herring wins next. That kind of leaves one odd man out. I mean, there are other fights they could make for him at 130, but the easy big fights, there's three guys. And, like, I kind of think Valdez, unless Shakur Stevenson says, I really want Valdez. Like, that's the fight I really want. Then it'll happen. But I think that's Herring.
I want the Stevenson Valdez fight so bad. That fight is just really intriguing to me now that Valdez showed his levels, to be quite honest.
They should bring up Joet Gonzalez to 130. It's 4 pounds.
Let's stop doing that. Let's not do that, please. I mean,
Joet Gonzalez would shine on Valdez.
Oh my God. I'm gonna have to
Joet Gonzalez ain't nothing but the truth. He just beat
Hey, Garrett. Okay, like, are you seriously saying if Valdez takes a tune-up in his next fight and Joet Gonzalez moving up, you pick Joet Gonzalez?
We'll cross that bridge when we get there.
No, Gary. No.
I can't think about it. I can't.
I will always give you the right to change your opinion, Gary. But what's your preliminary opinion on that? Don't back away. Don't be a coward. Act like you can't change your opinion later, Gary. Come on.
Figuring that Jason Velez outboxed him for 10 rounds, and I think that Gonzalez is a far superior boxer to Jason Velez. Obviously, I'd have to pick Valdez at this point, right? Like, I mean, after that performance, you got to pick him. But, like, if he went back and sucked his next fight, that wouldn't shock me either. Like, when a guy has years and years and years of crappy performances and then has one great one, like, we may go back to crappy performances. Like, really.
I hope not. I hope this is Valdez turning a corner in his career and his technique and his over IQ. Like, I wish that. Like, I truly do.
Speaking of, it's only February, and Reynoso has already won Trainer of the Year. That award is already handed out now. Between Garcia
doing this. Can't let him get away with this. Dude, the Eddie Reynoso, like, era is one we're going to talk about. Like, I know, like, we're in the eye of the storm, so we don't talk about it in the context it should be talked about. But in like 10 years time, when we talk about this era, we're going to have to talk about like the Eddie Reynoso era. Same way, like the same way we talk about like the Emmanuel Stewart era of boxing and the Freddie Roach era boxing, like, or the like the Roger Mayweather, Floyd Mayweather Sr. era of like training. Like, we're going to talk about Eddie Reynoso, like 1,000%, because the weakest link has always been Valdez in his camp.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Can't wait to see what he does with Ruiz, Andy Ruiz.
Dude, and do you see how we didn't put this on the topic at all, but I mean, we can talk about it now. Do you see how skinny Ruiz is looking right now?
Yeah.
Maybe it's like the IG ankles as he's working.
Right. Yeah.
But no matter what, he is definitely slimmer than he was in the second AJ fight. So,
you know, women have those filters that no matter, it makes them look like they're a supermodel, right? It may have been one of those filters. That's all I'm saying.
It may have been, but like, also like saw him trying to use those filters before the second AJ fight. Everyone,
the second AJ fight was a different story. Yeah,
it's not working, man. It looks a little bit chubby here. He's looking lean, man. He's looking real lean. I'm excited. I know he's still linked with who he's supposed to fight next. God help me out.
Arreola.
Thank you. Fuck.
That fight's happening in San Antonio, from what I understand.
Yeah, I don't know why it hasn't been announced yet. I'm assuming that just Ruiz wants more time to train and get slim. I'm guessing
to beat up on Arreola, like
no, not just for Arreola, like just for himself
in general. Yeah,
because I mean, God, like look how big he was. Like, again, like these are I don't like playing this game. I often don't play this game. I often make fun of people that play this game, but like you compare the side by side photos of him in that second AJ fight to the photos we're seeing now in the camp. I mean, it's night and day. I mean, it's something else. It's truly special. I hope he sticks to this because he's a legit top 4 guy in that division.
Yeah.
Like, he can beat any of them on a given night. Like, he proved it already.
Not Usyk, though.
Hey, come on. We saw what Trezor can do to Usyk, man. Imagine Andy Ruiz.
I think Ruiz is really good. I think Ruiz, if he's the Ruiz that showed up to Madison Square Garden and knocked out AJ, if he gets in that kind of shape, that kind of motivation, I think he's trouble for everyone in that division.
Absolutely. Quickly, just to round off the Valdez-Berchelt topic, I wish Valdez moves up to 135. Clearly, he's a big guy for the division. Everyone's saying that the weight cut was tough. Just move up. It's fine. There was a unified undisputed champion in your promotion at that division. Maybe there's not when you move up. But Lopez is around there. You have other names in the bunch that are obviously big fights for Berchelt. It just makes the most sense. And for Valdez, I mean, the Herring and Frampton fight got moved back again. And I think that fighting the winner of that just is not going to happen next, of course, for Valdez. And I think Shakur Stevenson probably has the winner of that earmarked, like you said. So Valdez takes a tune-up late summertime, I'm guessing. Because, I mean, he just went to war, too, with Berchelt. He's going to take a good, recovery and vacation.
You should take a victory lap. After a win like that,
absolutely.
You should take a victory lap.
No one thought he was going to win. And he just put himself as the best Mexican super featherweight of this era, right?
Super featherweight, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not talking about best Mexican fighter of this era of all time, of course. I'm talking about just in that division. It was a Berchelt conversation. Like, it was only Berchelt for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And then that supremacy has been destroyed, has been toppled. Anyways, moving on. Also on that card, let me pull it up. As I'm trying to pull it up, and my stupid BoxRec account keeps logging me out. Gabriel Flores Jr. picked up a TKO win against Jason Velez. Escriva Valco defeating Artur Akovov. Elvis Rodriguez defeating Luis Veron. And Xander Zayas defeating James Martin. Gary, any thoughts on the undercard here?
I didn't watch much of the undercard. I looked at it more than I watched it. I didn't really tune into it.
Yeah, I had it on. I'll say this at Pacquiao. I mean, the guy's at 28-0 now, and he's just fighting like a top 20ish guy in the lower division. Like, what are you doing?
For someone they think the world of, they don't really like to match him too tough.
He's a little bit of like Carlos Adames to me. Like, he's clearly not that guy, but he should be a perennial top 15 opponent. Like, he's even with losses. Like, I still think he has some quality and value for the division, of course, and they just don't seem to be at all interested in matching him up with relevant fighters. Gabriel Flores Jr., I mean, he looked good against Jason Velez. I'll say that. Like, he clearly looked the best he's looked as of yet. And, I mean, finishing Jason Velez is impressive in of itself. Yeah. Jason Velez is a very tough, durable fighter. And I don't remember the Rodriguez or Zayas fight that much, to be honest. Sorry, it's been obviously a few days since that fight. Again, I blame Gary for... Well,
Zayas is a Puerto Rican welterweight, so obviously he's Felix Trinidad. Clearly.
He looks good. I mean...
No, he does look good. He does. They turned him pro when he was 17 or something like that. Like, he's good. But they don't like to match him. I mean, I get it. He's so young. So there's no...
Yeah, he's 6-0 now. He could probably move him up a little bit farther.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Especially if you think if he's as good as you think he is, then let's move him up.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. Let's move on to the Matchroom card. That was that day as well. Another upset. I mean, kind of the weekend of upsets in a small way. David Avanesian beating up Josh Kelly. Like, bad. Like, really bad. And David Avanesian is not the greatest fighter. I mean, Josh Kelly clearly is just not the goods, right? Like,
and I'm not trying to, because American fighters have this problem too. But like, this is what I was saying about Harlem Eubank. When me and Rob were watching the Eubank, I was like, you gotta like pick up the aggression and try to get him out. I thought Kelly was looking good, right? But you could tell he was winning rounds, but he was losing the war. Like you could see that coming. At a certain point, I know Kelly's not a puncher. You gotta sit down, you gotta establish yourself, and you gotta at least be able to hurt Avanesian, right? You just invite him to walk in the front door. Once you start to slow down, this is what's going to happen, right? Like, it happened quick. I thought it was going to happen later in the fight. Like, once Kelly started to slow down, it was over. But, like, I saw this coming. It's like, look, he's trying to run out the clock here in the middle of the fight. Like, I saw this coming because, like, it's not the amateurs. It's not a 3-round fight. This is a 12-round war. Like, you have to be able to hurt the person. It's a fight. If you can't hurt him, eventually he's going to break you down and destroy you. And that's what happened.
Yeah. I mean, maybe Rob's right, man. Dalton Smith, the best UK prospect right now.
It ain't Josh Kelly, that's for sure.
No, man, really not. It's sad. He looked really good in the amateurs. I remember watching him in the Olympics. Like, I really liked his style. I liked him on the
camera. He's got a style. He's good. Right? But you have to have some power. Right? Like, you have to be able to sit down and fight at that distance and be able to stop the person. I'm not saying you have to knock him out, although that'd be nice, but you have to stop him. You're not going to just walk in on me, right? Like that's not going to happen.
No, it's not. I don't know what you do next with Josh Kelly. I think you kind of just
go back to domestic level.
Yeah, you kind of have to. I feel like, and even Avanesian wasn't like that much of like a elite level, like world level fighter in a way. Like he was a top 30-ish guy.
His win came over 50-year-old Shane Mosley with one arm, right? Like that was his claim to fame.
You in the chat saying Joe Cordina is the best prospect in the UK. I mean, of course, I'm making fun of Rob when I say Dalton Smith is the best UK prospect. No, I mean, even like Joe Cordina is probably closer to like a contender level at this point in time than a prospect level. He's probably a top 20-ish guy at 130. Give or take. But he's also someone that needs to be moved up too. Like he's been just wallowing in the European level for some time. Also on that card, Robbie Davis Jr. losing to Gabriel Valenzuela. Jordan Gill defeating Cesar Juarez. And that's about it from people that I know. Jordan Gill looked good, but I mean, we know his ceiling. So still domestic level guy, but fun fighter. And I'll say this, ever since he's grown out the afro, he's become better.
I didn't see it because they didn't have it on the zone telecast. He had the afro at his garden. I wanted to see if he had it cut or if it was still looking.
It was on the DAZN telecast.
The Jordan Gill fight?
Yeah.
Oh, I might have missed it. Yeah, they had it on first. You're right. And I missed it.
Yeah.
So why would it? I thought that was going to be the co-main because like the rest of the card was crap.
Robbie Davis Jr. is, I mean, probably like an equivalent level, like domestic draw, right?
Is he a domestic draw?
I mean, neither is. They're club guys. This is a club level show, man.
Josh Kelly equals Adrian Broner.
Stop. Adrian Broner's won actual belts.
Kind of.
He did.
He won them.
He did.
Who did he win his first belt from?
I'm not going to repeat that. No, it's nobody. But regardless, he still won belts. And he picked up like some like decent like.
He did. He beat DeMarco.
Yeah. And plus, he at least showed that he can contend with top 10 guys.
Ashley Theophane was a decent name. I mean, Paulie.
He beat Jesse Vargas, in my opinion.
I mean, it was close. And again, he gave away the first half of the fight.
Well, I mean, we can compare it. They're in the same division.
Yeah.
Adrian Broner, Josh Kelly, who wins that fight? And we're going to talk about Adrian Broner, obviously, because he fought this Saturday.
I mean, you got to pick Broner, right?
I mean, you have to.
Yeah.
It's going to be the worst fight ever. I'm probably going to pick, right? Like, oh my God. Won't stop thinking about that one. Speaking of Adrian Broner, though, he fought this weekend, first time in what, 2 years? I think it's 2 years, right?
Yeah, it's 2 years.
Against Jovan Santiago. And I mean, what can we say of this fight? One, Gary, I mean, do you think that Adrian Broner actually won this fight?
I had it 114, 113 Broner. I thought it was the way to look at it was 4 rounds to 4. There was the 1 point deduction, right? So it's 4-4 and then 1 even, And then the first round, nothing happened. You could score it either way. And then the 7th and 10th were toss-up. So it's 4-4-1 with 3 toss-up rounds. However you scored those rounds is who you gave the winner to. Like, that's kind of how I looked at it. Now, I thought the scorecards were egregious. Like, they were way too wide. Like, you couldn't have it that wide if you're being reasonable. But on my scorecard, I thought Broner won, by 1 point. But you could easily have flipped that around. Like, I gave the first round to Broner because you had to give it to someone. No one landed a punch. Who'd you score it for? I gave it to Broner. If you just flip that one round, then I have Santiago winning.
I'll say this. I did not score this fight for obvious reasons. And all I can say about it is like how I felt about the fight after the fact. That it was an awful fight, and Adrian Broner should not have won it. Not saying that Santiago should have won it, but like Broner should not have won that fight. Like that was just horrendous. Like he might have. I think what was the landed total? Like I don't use CompuBox.
It was 203 to 90 something. It was more than 2-1 in favor of Santiago. It was 200, like just over 200 to 90 something.
Yeah, it's bad. Like it was not good. It was just a very boring Adrian Broner, and he's been boring before. Right, like the Porter fight comes to mind, obviously.
But he was outclassed in the Porter fight, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, I don't care who you think won this fight. AB wasn't outclassed, and I thought if I scored it because I thought the fight
he was just out hustled, and that happens. And when you're not landing anything significant, hustle plays a factor in scoring.
I watched. There's not a whole lot of Santiago on YouTube, but I watched what I could. Found like, okay, this guy likes to left hook. He likes to come forward. Like Broner's going to lose rounds just because he's going to get outworked. Now, I didn't think it was going to. I thought he would eventually knock him out, and skills would pay the bills at the end here, and Broner would get him out. I wouldn't expect it to be this close. But I said, Santiago. I don't like the way they matched this fight. Like I think Santiago is going to win rounds early and make Broner look bad early, which he did. I just didn't think he'd be able to sustain it as long as he did.
Yeah. And what do you do next with Broner, man? What does Broner do next? Do we care?
I mean, the numbers. I thought he was going to do a good number.
He didn't.
He did not.
So it was 2 something.
Under 300. Yeah, it was 280 or 290. Yeah. What does he do with Broner? He says he's going to fight at 140, but he can't seem to ever make 140. So what do you do with him?
And those aren't the money fights. Those aren't in-house fights either. Like 140, I think is just a talking point from him.
Omar Figueroa. They were supposed to make that fight before Figueroa went on a bender and got a DUI again and whatever. I would say, look, make that fight.
Literally pounds for a vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't mind that.
Unless you want to feed him to someone. Do you want to feed him to Michelle Rivera and have her shine on him? But I feel like this performance against Santiago is so bad. That's like, what's the point? I mean, even if Rivera beats him up, they're going to say, so what?
And plus, that was only talked about when he was actually going to be at 140. If he's at 147,
7 now, yeah.
Michelle Rivera's not moving up to
up to 47, yeah.
I mean, that would just be. I think that'd be.
Is this
risk and reward there? But that would be potentially a very dumb move.
Is there someone Rolly? Is there what? Wait, that's 135. Also, is there someone you want to shine on and use Broner's name? You know what I'm saying? Is there someone star you want to build?
Just feed him to Thurman, please.
That'd be ugly, man. That'd be bad.
But I would love it. Oh my god, please! Even Harper Marks in the chat, yes. I love Mark's brother here saying Broner Thurman pay-per-view is the next PBC move. It should be. That's a good pay-per-view.
And by good, you mean it'll do a decent number, but it's an absolute trash fight. Yeah.
It's not a trash fight.
I guess not.
It's a comeback fight for both guys in some sense still. Right? So it's not a fight to determine the number one guy in the division. It's not that type of fight. Right? But it's a fight between a top 5-ish welterweight, between a top 15 welterweight. Okay, between 2 stars.
Is that a pay-per-view track? A top 5 and a top 15 welterweight? Is that a pay-per-view?
Not because of their ranking, because of their star power. Ranking and star powers are disconnected.
Yeah, I get it.
Ryan Garcia is the top 5th best lightweight in the world, let's say. Mm-hmm. He's the biggest star in that division.
What about Tanahara?
I will slap you across the Do not make me do that. Anyways, what do we have next for? Let's talk about your boy, Aldo Valin, outboxing Dominic Brazil. I mean, first off, Dominic Brazil was slow as shit. I mean, Joe Joyce looked like a fucking Ferrari next to him. He should probably retire.
Yeah, that was it for Brazil. Like that's enough for him.
Aldo Valin, though, I mean, he still didn't look that great, in my opinion. I saw a lot of people praising him in that performance. I didn't see why, because Dominic Brazil looked so bad, in my opinion. So, but Aldo Valin, he's still a top 20-ish guy in the division. He's probably going to get a big fight next. Maybe it's a Wilder tune-up. I don't know. But hell, shout out to you, Aldo Valin.
Yeah, they're going to give Wilder it's a propaganda piece to make Wilder look good, because Valin almost stopped Fury, and then Wilder will destroy him because he sucks. Right? I think that will happen. Again, I thought Valin was so bad that I was kind of thinking that Brazil may even win the fight. That didn't happen, obviously. Like, that's how bad I thought Valin was. Brazil looked awful. I mean, horrible. Hopefully he's done. And Valin looked better than I thought. I still don't know how. Like, we said, what does he do well? Well, nothing really. I mean, he's big. I don't know. I give up. What does he do well?
I know, and we all seen like a digression of him too. Like,
yeah,
how he looked here versus like other performances was a dilapidated form. It was. He was slower than before. His punching technique was poorer than before. Like, he was just in very poor form in this showing. Also on this card, Robert Easter Jr. defeating Ryan Martin via very dominant performance. I mean, Ryan Martin clearly just not that guy.
He's not the blue chip. Regardless of what they call him, he is not the blue chip. Although I can see why. He comes from like Chattanooga, Tennessee, so he's got good skills and athleticism. He's just not that good. So I can see how he looks good against really bad competition that he would get in Tennessee, right? But he's not. When he moves up, he's not that good.
He just doesn't have that fire in him. Like, that's just the reality. Like, we saw his corner. I forget who was his corner in this fight. I think it was a new corner. Like, yelling at him, like, "You're not doing shit. Like, go do something." And he just still didn't do anything. Still couldn't. You know, Robert Easter was still kind of just outboxing him. Robert Easter, though, I mean, he still hasn't looked, I think, like his previous form on like the Richard Comey fight. I don't know what's up with him. Whatever it is. I did not see the Rashid Warren fight or the Zachary Ochoa fight, who lost, by the way. I did not see those. Gary, any other thoughts on fights that happened this last weekend? No, let's get to fights that are happening this weekend. Tomorrow, Canelo-Alvarez fight weekend. It doesn't really feel like one. Fighting MMAonPoint in Miami, Florida. Woohoo. Obviously, as Santiago said earlier on the show via Super Chat, Julio Cesar Martinez was supposed to be on this card against McWilliams Arroyo. That fight was canceled due to a hand injury. So now we get Canelo versus Yildirim, Weili Zhang versus Jerry Forrest, Diego Pacheco versus Rodolfo Gomez Jr., Alex Espano versus Ashton Sykes, Mark Castro on the card.
Keyshawn Davis is fighting, right?
Oh, Gary, I'm getting.
I'm sorry.
What are you doing?
That's my bad. Damn
it, Gary. And Keyshawn Davies on the card as well. Keyshawn Davis, obviously a highly talented amateur prospect in the U.S. system, was supposed to go to the Olympics, and then COVID happened. Gary, thoughts on the card?
I'm really, really interested in seeing Davis fight. Look, Canelo's going to wash Yildirim. And I want to get into this because you are getting people who are saying Canelo's not fighting the best. Canelo has stated his goal, and he wants to be the undisputed champ at 168. And he let it be known that he wants to fight Billy Joe in the summer and then fight Caleb Plant at the end of the year, which means if he won all those fights, he'd be the undisputed champ in the division. In order to keep those belts, he has to meet his mandatory. Unfortunately, his mandatory is Yildirim. Okay? For reasons that they can't tell you, right? Like the same reasons why we have to bomb Syria. For reasons we can't really tell you. Yildirim is the number one challenger for the belt, which makes no sense because his best win is a loss to Durrell.
I was looking, Gary. I don't know if you did like air quotes when you said that. I mean, we absolutely know why we are bombing Syria, and we absolutely know why we have this mandatory.
For reasons we can't tell you. Yeah.
Money. Money. That's why. Oil, money, same shit. But anyways, back to
you. So you can't be mad at Canelo. Be mad at the sanctioning body. Canelo didn't make this mandatory. Canelo doesn't do the ranking. Canelo has one goal. He says he wants to be undisputed champ. In order to do that, he has to keep this belt. In order to keep this belt, he's got to dispose of Yildirim, which he'll do in 4 rounds or less.
Yeah, my only real criticism is that this fight's in Miami. Why the hell is this fight in Miami?
They can draw fans there. They can have a crowd.
Yeah, but I would have just waited when Texas opened up again. Right? You would have sold better in Texas than you can in Miami. You would have got more media attention in Texas than Miami. There's a reason why it doesn't feel like it's a Canelo fight week.
Well, and he wanted to go to the beach.
Is that why?
I would think so. Why else would you put it in Miami?
I didn't know if there was an interview.
And he wanted to go to the beach.
Maybe that's true. I mean, the beach in at Miami during the winter is still pretty nice. I will say that. But come on here. This fight should be in Texas. It's ridiculous. And it should be over within 4 to 6 rounds. It's not really going to be that competitive. It might be violent and fun. That's about it. And I'm only really intrigued by Keyshawn Davis on the undercard because of you, Gary, because you've been bigging him up for so long. And obviously other people in the media have been talking about him for a long time. But that's about it. I mean, Martinez is no longer on the card. And PSK is saying that the rumor was that Martinez wasn't going to make weight. He has been talking that he's going to move up. I think it was after this fight to super flyweight. That was his next plan. So maybe he's just not going to take this fight and moves up. That's possible. If you're not going to make the weight healthy, don't make the weight. Go up the weight class. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah. And Williams Arroyo, I always felt bad for him because look, he's had 2 world championship fights. Once against Chocolatito, obviously he didn't win that, and the other was against that Thai guy, Anwar. How do you say his name? 108 pounder. But McWilliams Arroyo has had
108 pounder.
Yeah, the Thai fighter.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
He's had 2 world title fights that he's come up short in. I feel like McWilliams Arroyo is always a guy that's around the top 10. I'd like to see him get one last title shot. Not that he was going to win, but he gets one last shot. And now that fell through, and who knows if he'll end up getting that final shot. Because he's always a guy that's in there. He's in competitive fights. I'd like to see him get, the payday and get the title fight, but, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. Oh, well. Also, this weekend tomorrow on DAZN, Joseph Parker versus Junior Fa, the New Zealand showdown everyone's been waiting for. This will be Joseph Parker's potentially 4th KO in a row, though. So good for him, man. A little win streak. Hopefully he gets a big fight soon because, I've always liked Joseph Parker.
We're going to the cards. We are going. You think you're going to get out of this early?
Yeah, we are.
We're going to the cards.
Have you seen Junior Fa fight?
I think he sucks. I think he's terrible. I was shocked.
But not only that, he's chinning. He gets hurt very easily by subpar competition. Joseph Parker is not subpar competition. He might not be the heaviest-handed fighter in the heavyweight division, but the dude can still crack.
Whenever there's a horrible fight that you have to watch, because I think we have to watch that, we're going to this. You're not getting out of this early.
Murphy's Law.
This is going 12. We're going 13.
Anyways, moving on. That's it for fights this weekend. But last pieces of news of the week. Alberto Ramirez, who has been a free agent for some time from Top Rank, has now inked a multi-year pact with Golden Boy Promotions. I've heard rumbles about him and Bivol fighting later this year. And that's why, obviously, he withdrew from the Marcus Brown fight because he inked his deal with Golden Boy. Gary, your thoughts on this deal?
Hopefully, it's good. I think it's a good fit for him. I think that they can do good things with him. I hope the Bivol fight comes to fruition, but I don't think he'll win that fight. It's a good fight. Both guys need that kind of fight, that level of fight. And it's a fun fight. I just think Bivol's too skilled for him. But I think this is a good fit for Zordo.
Yeah, I largely agree. The only other fit would have been Who's better to be signed with? Is it Matchroom?
No, it's Top Rank.
Is it Top Rank? That's right, because he signed after the Vajic fight, right?
But Top Rank didn't like him for whatever reason. So it's like,
yeah, you're right. There's certain. You couldn't say with Top Rank because of whatever relationship failed there, right? That obviously fell apart. I don't know. I feel like it's all right. It doesn't lead a lot of immediate options for him. It's good for Golden Boy because they need names. Like, they need people. Even though, like, Gilberto Ramirez is not a huge draw, he's someone that they can build cards around. So
well, eventually you'll get him with Beck the Bully, and that'll be a fun fight.
Whoa. I mean, if you're a Golden Boy, like,
look, I'm not saying this guy saves the logo. He doesn't save the brand, right? But I think it's a good signing. I think, being on that side, it'll be okay. It's fine. Like, it's good for him to be there.
It's fine. It's all right. It's all right. You have to be determined. It's still Oscar we're talking about here, Gary. Like, in terms of like the worst promoters in the sport, it's Bob Arum and Oscar. If we're discounting like the Kel Sutherlands, like the crackpot cokeheads out there in the regional scenes. Digressing. Last piece of news of the day. I know that Gary's really hyped on this. His boy, his man, Antonio Tarver is back. You hyped, Gary?
Why is Antonio Tarver my boy?
I don't know.
All right.
I feel like he would be. He was of an era that you liked.
He wasn't my era. That's true. He knocked out Roy Jones Jr., which isn't cool. He also beat Rocky Balboa, which isn't cool.
Yeah, but that fight was a robbery.
It was.
They robbed our boy Rocky. He's fighting former UFC heavyweight champion Frank Amir on the Jake Paul Ben Askren card. In regards to just rounding off the news, Roy Jones wants to fight Fedor Emelianenko or Anderson Silva. Gary, do these exhibition fights between retired MMA fighters and boxing fighters and legends, these are legends, do they interest you at all?
Roy Jones Jr. and Anderson Silva,
I talked about forever,
entertained me, but like, it would be in boxing, which makes no sense because Anderson Silva is legendary. I know who that is. I could pick him. Well, I don't know now because he's old, but like in his prime, I could pick him out of a room of people.
He looks the same.
Okay, I could probably still pick him out of a room of people. I know who he is. I respect him, right? But like, you're playing Roy Sports. It's like Tom Brady's going to play Michael Jordan in basketball. Well, I kind of feel like we're going to, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I have the utmost respect. And this does kind of intrigue me because Anderson Silva intrigues me. It's a name of a guy I really respect. But like in Roy Jones Jr. Sports, it's, you know what I'm saying? It's like, this doesn't, Roy Jones is going to destroy him, which doesn't do Anderson Silva any justice, except that Anderson Silva is going to get paid for it.
I think it's a little bit different than that, even though your comparison's close. Like, I think it's more of like maybe a funny comparison here, but like imagine like a pro ping pong player
playing a tennis player,
and one of them's on ping pong or a tennis court. Like, I think that's a little bit more
sure.
Of an analog to this example, because I mean there is some shared athletic techniques between these two disciplines, unlike basketball and football. Like, one thing that's similar in that sport is like running.
And Brady's a quarterback, so he definitely doesn't do that. Yeah,
and especially Brady himself.
Yeah,
does not run a lot in the pocket. But anyways, I'm only intrigued by it because like, it's legends. I'll watch it. I'm never paying for this shit. That's for damn sure. Like, I'm never paying for these, Triller pay-per-views. That just makes no sense to me. Even like the Lopez Cambosis pay-per-view, I'm not paying for that. Makes no sense.
I mean,
I can watch them for free.
It's true. You can watch them for free. It's true.
And it's not like it's a card or it's a fight where I want to support it with my dollar. In some sense, like I want some of my money on this pay-per-view to go to these fighters because of how great this fight is. It's not that type to me.
Right. Like, I want to do a when they were having trouble making Program versus Josh Taylor. I want to do a GoFundMe for that fight. Like, let us do it. Let's put some money in a pot to pay them what they deserve. This is not that. And that fight, that Taylor Program fight, really worked out.
That is true. That did eventually happen. By the way, what happened to the World Boxing Super Series? We never heard from it again, huh? Dude, where's Kel Sutherland, man? We haven't seen that guy in a bit either.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Dude, some Russian oligarchs. They got him, bro.
You got him. He's gone.
Gone. Anyways, Gary, any final thoughts on today's show, man, before we wrap it up?
Tank Davis says he's not fighting at 130 or 135. So where does he go next?
Did he say that?
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
On Twitter. Somebody asked him if he's fighting at 130 or 135 next. And he said neither.
I feel like that's just him fucking around. He does that.
Could be.
I've noticed that with Gervonta Davis, that he fucks around on Twitter in a Tyson Fury-esque way. So it's like, untrustworthy point of view. Like I don't know if that's serious. I don't know if that's. I don't know. I doubt it. I doubt that's true. Because you're going to go to 140?
140.
No.
That's the rumor.
No need for that.
Or 26.
That's
would be Gary Russell Jr. That seems out though, right? So the only other way he could go was 140.
Or he just is fucking around.
Oh, that's the other possibility. But I'm saying if
it's a distinct possibility as well.
It's a distinct possibility, right? So like there's two sides of this coin. He's screwing with people, like that's one option, or he's really going to do it, right? So I mean, if you think he's serious, I mean, what seems more reasonable, 40 or 26? 40, right?
40, but I don't think he's serious.
Then
that's when it falls apart to me. Like it just doesn't make sense to me.
So who does Tank Davis fight next?
Gary Russell 130.
Because I'm saying 140. Who we're talking about? Like say Broner.
Dude, he's 140. Still fighting Abner Morales, bro.
They should move Morales up to 140 and have him beat Broner.
I'm kidding, because like Morales, like I'll be honest, he's been looking a little bit like chubby lately on those Showtime telecasts. He's gained some weight. You can tell that. Anyways, yeah, Tank Davis stays at 130. Right. And if he does go back to 135, he goes back to 135, and that's probably the bigger fight for him anyways. But I mean, Chris Colbert is an option for him. I think Gary Russell's still an option for him, but at 130, not 126. And then it's tune-up land after that, right? Like in terms of like in-house fights, it's Chris Colbert, Gary Russell Jr., or tune-up land. La 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 la. Anything else?
You would make the Colbert fight already? Because I mean, look, Colbert's that's real early in both the career to have because either Tank Davis is going to get schooled and outboxed, or Colbert's going to get knocked the hell out. But I don't see it ending any other way. I don't see it being like a real close fight. Even though I think both guys are really good, I think that either Colbert keeps him at the end of his punches for 12 rounds, or eventually Tank gets inside and destroys him.
Yeah. But I do think that fight is sooner than later going to happen.
It'll happen sooner rather than later. Yeah. But right now, this year or next year.
Oh, it's definitely happening within the next 18 months.
You think so? So by the end of 2022?
Yes.
We'll definitely have. Okay.
Yes, I absolutely think that. Only because of a lack of in-house options. When that happens, you're going to get these types of matchups faster. The only reason you don't get that is if you have like an incompetent promotional entity like Golden Boy, who can't seem to make Rashidi Ellis versus Virgil Ortiz at the very least, right? But that's beside the point. Yeah, and I also somebody saying that he hasn't been tested, Tank Davis, since Pedraza. That's not true. Leo Santa Cruz was a test.
Yeah, for Leo Santa Cruz and Amanda Nunes, and you go, boss.
Oh my god. Anyways, guys, ladies and gentlemen, hit the like button, share the show, subscribe, all that fun stuff. You can find me, Matt Hunter, MCR, all social media platforms, patreon.com/Trending Now Network, Cash App Trending Now Network. I might do a late night stream on Trending Now Network on YouTube and Twitch. Talk about stuff, politics, history, theory, all that stuff. Because my kid's going off to his grandparents tonight, so I have the house to myself. Yes. So I might be able to stream tonight. Also, I did announce I was going to do a review of a movie. That got pushed back due to personal stuff in my life. So unfortunately, that's going to be pushed back probably till next week. I got the script basically done. I just need to film it and edit it, and it shouldn't be that long of a video. But that should be a fun movie review of a 1950s movie. Ooh, going classic, Gary. But anyways, find me. You guys know where to go. Gary, final thoughts.
Find me all forms of social media. 3D Boxing blog. It is February 26th, 2021. Ivan Calderon is still not in the Boxing Hall of Fame. That needs to change. Let's get the Iron Boy in. Let's make Texas a country again. From Texas to the world, thank you, and God bless.
Remember, fuck the police, free Palestine, and abolish all states. Gary, come on, man. Be a true anarchist here. Have a good one.
It's one block at a time, you know?
That was a good argument. At least. I'll give you that. Have a good one, guys. Peace.